We, the people of Detroit, is dedicated to community coalition building and to the provision of resources that inform, train, and mobilize the citizens of Detroit and beyond to improve their quality of life. As a community-based grassroots organization, we, the people of Detroit, aim to inform, educate, and empower Detroit residents on imperative issues surrounding civil rights, land, water, education, and the democratic process. For more information, call 844-42-WATER, 844-42-WATER, or email wethepeopleofdetroit.com.
Wake up, Detroit. I'm Joanne Watson, and this is your wake-up call.
When a brown girl child is born, the earth shifts. The sun is at half-mast. The moon waits for her first cry. The ancestors set the table. The flowers turn red as blood. This is your land, continent daughter, with tree trunk legs and branches for arms. This is your soil, black and fertile as your eyes facing an apartheid Jim Crow current past memory. Some of us begin the removal of shackles at birth. We grow into the armor of struggle quickly. We brew courage in our tea, blend bravery into our Sunday dinners. Joanne Watson, you understand nation building is not a part-time job. This dedicated life is sometimes lonely, a vulnerable choice, but it is the only way you know how to operate. You are wired for the movement in your black women bones, even when tired, still fighting, still organizing, still singing morning spirituals. You were born to lead, even in your own family, the eldest of 10 children born to Jefferson and Lestine. You made Damon, Nefertari, Stephen, Maya. Her children always knew she was larger than life. When you are a woman in the movement, you take the children with you on the journey. You bring the babies with you to your college classes. When you travel to Ghana for the first time, it will be with your daughters in tow. When you are a fearless, nationalist thinking mama, mothering never stops with your own babies. When your purse was snatched in a Farmer Jack parking lot many years ago with your kids' tickets to Run DMC in the purse, you made sure they still got to that concert and even hosted Melly Merrill and the Furious Five in your living room, because queens make it look easy. When you're a single mom, people will tell you what you can't do. Instead, you move to New York City with all 4 of your C's to do your necessary work with the YWCA, because queens make it look easy. Ghana, Togo, South Africa, where is your heart, Mama Watson? Nurturing spirit, baking melt in your mouth, homemade biscuits. How many hours do you sleep, Warrior Watson, with endless work ethic and blue-collar blood racing through your veins? How do we say thank you for your work, your time, your heart? We know you will never really retire. There is a fire on the path to freedom. There is smoke, there is sacrifice, there are stories of justice, of women, of Tubman, Sojourner, of Angela, Asada, Coretta, and Merle, and Betty, and Queen Mother Moore. Some of us know we are ancient, that our marrow is laced with legacy, that we are here to bring light to our daughters. Sometimes it just takes one woman, a mother, a grandmother, a Spitfire, griot, a sister, the only woman to lead the NAACP's largest chapter. She, daughter of the movement, of Rosa, of Irma. She was a birth that gave birth to possibility for other young activists like me, a true D woman, frontline Fatima, Nigerian blood, councilwoman, leader, truth teller, Joanne Watson, social worker, president of the Anti-Klan Network, sister, inspiration, dedicated to the protection of girls and the voices of women wrapped in West African beauty, regal and resilient. Wake up, Detroit. Wake up, South Africa. Wake up, Cuba. Wake up, small business owners. Wake up, White House. Wake up, reparations. Wake up, teachers. Wake up, women. Wake up, schools. Sleeping is not an option when the Honorable Joanne Watson is in the room.
Detroit, I'm Joanne Watson. This is your wake-up call, and what a blessing it is on this day, during this Christmas season, during this Kwanzaa season, to be able to say, wake up, Detroit. We're so glad that our wonderful, wonderful leader, warrior, Cecily McClellan, sometimes we call her Ebony, is in the house.
All right.
My. And she's joined by Norel Hemphill. in the house, both of them representing we the people of Detroit. And they've got good news to share today about a Lifeline program that can help many people who are watching, listening right now, who may be water insecure, keep your water on. And also erase your deficit delinquencies. So let's talk about the Lifeline program, and let's introduce everybody to Cecily McClellan first. Wake Up Detroit.
Well, we're really excited about it. We believe that it's a step in the right direction.
Yes.
We know that it's not water affordability in the true sense. It's a water assistance program, but it provides an avenue for Detroiters right now who are burdened with thousands of dollars of debt to have that debt eliminated and to be given a reasonable rate for at least an 18-month period. It's our hope that we will be able to encourage the extension of this
Yeah.
program, that
Yeah.
it can be converted into what we would say is a permanent water affordability program.
Excellent.
That is not happening at this point, but we're really encouraged that we got a program that can help Detroiters out of this crisis.
I want to publicly thank you for providing your own lifeline to help people keep their water on. When I was blessed to serve on the city council, we introduced legislation to say no water shutoffs.
Absolutely.
And to introduce a policy that would help people keep their water on. You were a staff person, and you took it, you owned it
That's
with your
right.
heart. You brought in volunteers and made sure that the money that we were able to lift up and out of the water department, because we found out they were putting delinquent payments off budget. So we took that money. $5 million was kept off budget. When we found that out,
That's right.
we demanded that the water department said, I wanted all $5 million to be used for water affordability, but they took $2.5 million. But we were happy to get that
It was
to take care of our people, to keep their water on. And you were the person, you were the principal person that made sure that all those families who needed to keep their water on were able to do that. So I want to thank you publicly.
And I truly appreciate your efforts in pushing that, because I know at that time you had some hesitations about keeping it in-house at the Department of Human Services. But I wanted to assure you that if we had that opportunity to work that program, we were going to make it work for Detroit.
Absolutely, you did do it.
And
And it was wonderful.
It was really wonderful.
It was life-saving for you. Can't live without water. Water is a human right.
Right. And it was during a time that was so crucial because, they were at that time rolling water bills over on the tax rolls.
That's
so
right.
it wasn't as though, when you buy a home or you sell a home,
That's right.
your water bill, if you have an outstanding one, that person has to pay it off before they can sell it.
That's right.
They were actually rolling water bills every quarter over to the tax roll.
Which was
So-
terrible. I had a senior citizen, show up at my office with tears in her eyes once, in her late 70s, that said the water department was claiming she owed a huge amount of money that she did not owe. She lived in a frame house on the east side by herself, and they were claiming she owed $27,000 plus. And she said, I don't owe it. I never get behind. I don't know it. I sent 2 attorneys from my office to the water department. They kind of moved people off their computers and checked her bill. They owed her $344.
See?
But they had put a lien on her house because of the claim, which was through human error, that she owed $27,000. And that was just one. I was not the first person she came to. She started with the mayor's office, went to the water department, went to other council offices before she came to me. So I wonder how many citizens.
Well, we know in 2008 there were almost upwards of almost 12,000 people that
My
had
Lord.
water bills added
My
to
Lord,
their
it's
tax
a
bill.
disgrace before God.
And see, and some
Just
of those
like this
bills,
woman had a human error,
Right.
27 when she owed nothing,
right.
and they were trying to put a lien on her house.
And then many of those people don't even know because they paid that tax bill and they assume that tax bill was paid.
My Lord.
And then they transfer that water bill over there, and all of a sudden you get a notification.
Come on now.
And that you owe this delinquent tax bill. And there's no way, because now it's being charged at that, I think it get as high as 18% interest that
My
they charge
Lord,
over
my
there in Wayne
Lord,
County.
my Lord.
Yeah.
So
So,
we have to take care of the people.
yes.
And taking care of the people means they must have access to water. It's bad enough Detroiters are paying retail rates while suburban customers are paying wholesale rates.
Absolutely.
And Detroiters own the water department, and it's the best water system in the world.
That's right. And that's continuously the issue here, that Detroiters have been swindled out of the water department. But what we're experiencing right now with this GLEWA agreement is totally illegal and so unfair.
Sure it
that
is.
that Detroit has never voted to relinquish in any way the water department, but we got an outside group that has more authority than the citizens and the legislative body of the city over our water department.
It's not right. Well, of course, so many things have been illegal and unconstitutional.
Yes, it is.
Emergency managers, illegal, unconstitutional. It's a violation of our voting rights to have a person who is not a resident or a taxpayer in Detroit deciding that we ought to have a regional authority for the water department. It's Detroit's water department. Mm-hmm. It's Detroit's water department. The citizens only have the right to give it away or vote it away, and they never did.
That's right. And and that's why we know that fabricated bankruptcy. I mean, the whole idea behind
Illegal.
was to be able to sell off the assets of the city of Detroit, privatize the assets of the city of Detroit, and that's probably where
Defraud the pensions.
That's right. And where we the people really got started when we began to see, and I was working for the city, that they were beginning to privatize all of our assets. The department that I work for, which was 100% federally funded, not a burden to the city coffer at all. It was not being supported by tax dollars.
Say that.
And it was the first department that they relinquished to the state of Michigan on some.
Why would you
bogus
give up a
charges.
department that has no overhead,
All right.
that has no cost,
No,
that's
none.
serving the people?
And that was the reason for it, because if you remember in 2010 when President Obama allocated that stimulus dollars, we were able to take $3 million at the Department of Human Services
Yeah.
and save over 700 houses
Praise
out
God.
of tax dollars, ones
Praise
that had
God.
went into Wayne County tax foreclosure.
Come on now,
and we
see?
took those dollars and saved it.
My.
Saved those homes. Many of them are seniors, longtime,
Yes.
lifetime residents of the city of
Yes.
Detroit, and we were able to save them home.
There's been an assault on the city. Detroit used to have the largest black home ownership in the country.
That's what it was about.
Uh-huh.
That's what it was
a
truly
deli-
about.
And Detroit, I don't think it's a coincidence that this city, the blackest city in America, which was the home of the Shrine of the Black Madonna.
That's right.
The Nation of Islam, the Republic of New Africa, the blackest mayor in the history of mayors, the Honorable Coleman Alexander Young.
Say it again.
And Mother Honorable Irma L. Henderson. You just had an attack on this city because of who we are.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what happened. Now, we don't want to forget the health department. So it looked as though the infrastructure, the safety net, they said that if we're going to run these black folks up out the city, and that was a major part of it, that we need to begin to find a way to make these people move.
And
so
the
they
school,
attacked the
the school
schools first.
takeover
Oh, yeah.
was the precursor for the city takeover.
Yes, it was.
And there was never a bankruptcy in Detroit. It was all an illusion. It
Well, there
was
was never a need for the school takeover either, because they had a $93 million
a $93 million surplus, and the city still owns a $60 billion asset called the water department. How can you be bankrupt if you have a $60 billion asset? It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I've testified during the so-called bankruptcy trial. And I told Judge Rose, I said, you shouldn't even be having this trial because the city council nor the mayor's office ever approved this bankruptcy filing. Kevin Orr was hired by the governor. That was not enough to bring this to a bankruptcy trial. All of this is illegal. He just dropped his head, didn't even answer.
No. But he made that ruling that Snyder had the authority
Yeah.
to take the city of Detroit into bankruptcy because of this law that the state of Michigan, all the people had voted out, and that he and the Republican legislator slid through the dark of night that referendum-proof new Public Act 436.
Absolutely.
And made sure that it was referendum-proof. But we had just voted that entire thing.
We had absolutely citizens across the state
Had voted it down, saying no.
voted down emergency management, said no.
Yes.
It's a violation of the Voting Rights Act, and still is.
That's right. And everybody saw it. It wasn't just the city of Detroit. I mean, the state of Michigan, our counterparts, our rural, our suburban counterparts saw
That's right.
that this was not the thing that they would want to happen to their particular city
That's
or
right.
township or the municipality.
That's
so
right.
they voted it down.
That's
okay,
right.
they were our partners in
That's
that.
right. That's
and
right.
so they said, forget the voters. We're going to do this another way. And they used this, the Republican legislator.
And the Michigan Municipal League has done its own investigation, and found out that the state of Michigan has not paid the city of Detroit $731 million in revenue sharing that should have been paid over a decade. Just didn't pay it.
Right, and that became a
Just
large
didn't pay
area.
it.
Well, you know, you brought that up during the whole bankruptcy. We brought that to their attention. Also, you know, remember at that same time, you had all the unions that had made all those concessions.
That's right.
That said that now we will make these concessions, reduce health care, reduce benefits to make sure that this city could be solvent. Plus, if we had got that revenue
The city
sharing,
was already solvent.
right.
And the unions kicked in more.
Yes.
More assets, more resources, but they were bent on taking over
Didn't they
the
come
city.
around and ask each council person, don't vote on that? Make sure that they did not vote on that
Mm-hmm.
agreement between the unions and the city at that time.
My.
Yeah,
Disgraceful.
yeah, they did everything they
But
could.
you know, there's a
illegally.
God who's sitting high looking low. Mm-hmm. And I do not believe people that do evil are going to get away with it in the end. I do not. I do not. And that is why the wonderful action and the vision and the voice of Cecily McClellan, sometimes we call her Ebony, has been a force to reckon with the Water Department. And we thank you for that.
Thank
We
you.
thank you for that. And Norel, talk to us about your work.
Yes, so I started with working with the people of Detroit last year when I was
Move a
in
little
law
closer to your mic.
last year, excuse me, when I was in law school. I started with working with Proposal P.
Yes.
So I'm sure both of you are very well versed with Proposal P. But for those who are listening and watching, Proposal P was a charter amendment to the Detroit City Charter.
Yes.
With that, we the people of Detroit was working on a water affordability provision in the charter amendment. And so I had the opportunity to work with Great Lakes Environmental Law Center to lend language to that.
Yes.
Proposal P, because they threatened bankruptcy. All the commercials, they didn't give any substantive attacks on Proposal P. It only said we would be in bankruptcy again. And because of all the damage and the harm that bankruptcy did to the city, as soon as people say that word, the citizens just stop listening.
Right.
So we actually voted against our interest because Proposal P was really for the people, by the people. It had all of the things that Detroiters have said that they wanted over the years in that charter amendment. But we voted it down. But of course, we the people of Detroit would not be deterred.
That's right.
So we've kept fighting that fight for water affordability.
That's right.
And I've been thankful to work to lend my expertise, my legal expertise to this work.
Excellent. Excellent. And, you know, that's an old trick to get people to vote against their own interests. There was an effort made in the last election in Detroit, before this last gubernatorial election. There was an election that included the reparations that was on the ballot. Reparations got more votes than any person did from the citizens of Detroit. But there were all kind of efforts to stop the reparations proposal from even being on the ballot that people are not aware of. There were people who tried to stop it from being approved by the Electoral Commission, by the city clerk, by the executive branch and the law department. There were steps along the way. It had to be fought. An attorney who's progressive had to put his own money to go door to door to get people to sign it and to overcome all of the impediments that were put before just to stop people from voting for reparations. So what you described happens over and over again.
You see.
There's always some hidden hand trying to deter progress. And
that
that's
was-
exactly what led to the assault on Proposal P.
It sure did, and not even only that. They never referenced that it was the charter.
No.
So in all the commercials people were seeing, it was all about bankruptcy.
Right.
You got to vote no, not knowing that it was a total document
That's right.
attached to that.
That's
and
right.
then what did they do? They used the seniors and the retirees.
Yep.
The same people that they ripped. I mean, that they
Oh, they
robbed
gave them money.
totally.
Yeah.
To be in those commercials.
That's exactly
And
right.
it was tragic. But they did the same thing to the community benefits
They
agreement.
certainly did.
They set up an alternative benefits agreement. They had the dollars and the resources, and so they could get on air and be able to influence people.
That's right.
You know, so these airways are so crucial and so important
That's
to get
right.
the message out.
We're going to speaking of airways, we're going to take a break so that we can see some important information on these airways. We thank you for being a part of our wake-up call. Wake up, Detroit!
Listen up, Detroit. From now until the end of the year, citizens who are having trouble paying their water bill can sign up for a Lifeline program. Detroit Lifeline will eliminate whatever you owe on your water bill and also set up a new affordable rate. But you must act now. We all need water to live. Yet water shutoff put the health of all Detroiters at risk. To sign up, contact Wayne Metro at 313-386-9727. According to Water Department Director Gary Brown, they will cancel any existing arrears and lower your monthly rate when you enroll. Detroit residents enrolled in the Lifeline plan will not be in jeopardy of water shutoff. The moratorium on water shutoff will end on December 31st. Detroiters in the need of water assistance should enroll in the Lifeline plan by contacting Wayne Metro, paid for by We the People of Detroit.
You ready to put your podcast on iHeartRadio? Yes, your podcast on iHeartRadio. What about Alexa, Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, Android, or iPhone? Plus live TV streaming. Get your podcast seen and heard all over the world. Call 313-868-6612. Pre-recorded shows are accepted to be archived. This is a WHPR distribution platform. Download the app from the App Store. Go to WHPRTV.com. Channels available for lease 24/7 on Roku, Fire Stick, or Apple TV. Coming soon, subscription and pay-per-view.
Also,
Block time is available. Get yours. Call 313-868-6612. That's 313-868-6612. Executive producer R.J. Watkins. Program director Henry Tyler. 107.5 FM WGPR HD2. RadioWeCanSee.com.
We the People of Detroit is dedicated to community coalition building and to the provision of resources that inform, train, and mobilize the citizens of Detroit and beyond to improve their quality of life. As a community-based grassroots organization, We the People of Detroit aim to inform, educate, and empower Detroit residents on imperative issues surrounding civil rights, land, water, education, and the democratic process. For more information, call 844-42-WATER, 844-42-WATER, or email wethepeopleofdetroit.com.
Detroit, this is your wake-up call. And we want to go back to Noel Hemphill and Cecily McClellan, who are going to give us more news we can use about how to turn the water on. How to turn the water on. And we want all citizens who may be water insecure to really tune in loud right now, because we want you to have your water delinquencies wiped out by your enrolling in this Lifeline plan. Let's talk about that.
Right now, I mean, it is crucially important because it's a program that would allow anybody that's currently receiving food stamps to be on what is called the Tier 1 of this program, where you would pay a flat rate of $18. And whatever your arrearage is, I don't care if you owe several $1,000s, that arrearage would be removed.
Excellent.
So it's crucially important that you apply for the program. But you have to make sure that the bill is in your name before you apply for the program. And then once you place into that program, within weeks and sometime a little bit longer, the arrearage will be removed.
Excellent.
If you are above that income level, which is called Tier 2, and that's like between up to like 150% of poverty,
Okay.
which is probably around at least 18,000
Sure.
a year. But that increases as the number of people in your household increase. Then you could pay a flat rate of $43 a month. And again, your arrearage would be removed.
Okay.
If you're up to 200% of poverty, which is close to $27,000 an individual, you could pay a flat rate of $56 a month, and your arrearage will be removed. And that this is a blessing. The program right now is a pilot, and that's 18 months, but you could not ever remedy that past debt that you have. So this is the clear opportunity to take advantage of it. We encourage any Detroiter to call 313-386-9727. Wait on the line. You know, the wait period may be somewhere around 10 minutes, sometime a little bit longer, but it's well worth it.
386-9727.
Absolutely.
386-9727. Call it. Call it. We want you to sign up. I know a lot of people who are watching and listening may be in a water insecure position, and it's not your fault.
That's right.
It's because first of all, they're overcharging us. Let me hurry up and say that. They're overcharging Detroiters for the water. Detroiters are paying retail while the suburban customers are paying wholesale. But this will wipe out your deficit.
Right.
Your arrears will be wiped out. But call that number, 386-9727. We don't want there to be any excuse for turning anybody's water off when 2023 hits, and you really only have until the end of December.
Absolutely. And you know, there is a caveat to the program in that it has a 4,500 gallon water usage on a monthly basis. So if you exceed what they say is 6 CCFs, and anybody can look at their water bill and it identifies how many CCFs you're using. But if you exceed that, then they begin to charge an additional fee. But if you're at Tier 1 and you're paying $18, which is much lower than most water bills in the city of Detroit, we got people that are low income, receiving food stamps, paying 20% of their income in terms of water bills. So $18 is going to be a lifesaver for that population.
That's right.
And even if they exceed the 6 CCFs and say they go to 8, then they charge an additional $20.
Yes.
And then if they go further than that, I would assume that it would be $20 for every 2 additional CCFs. So, I mean, it could accumulate back up to very high bills. But, you know, if you have issues with your plumbing,
Yes.
then you can apply at Wayne Metro. Now, we'll be very honest with you right now. The plumbing program is not available because of resources. But you do want to apply and at least see if you can be applied to a wait list.
Sure.
So that when those funds do become available, that you be first in line to take advantage of those of that program.
Excellent.
Because often the water usage issue is largely contributed to plumbing issues, be it leaky pipes, leaky faucets, or even leaky toilets.
And this
So-
is an old housing stock.
Absolutely. And that's probably one of the major issues, that we are an old housing stock that needs those plumbing repairs.
Sure.
But many of them, and that based on the water department's report, they're saying over 70% of the people in the city of Detroit that are within the income range are using less than 6 or
Yeah.
6 and less than 6 CCFs, which is less than 4,500 gallons a month. So if that pans out to be true, then most people will be eligible for that program.
We want everybody to sign up who can sign up. Please sign up.
Everyone,
The
because
December 31st is right around the corner. Today is December 22nd.
And before the pandemic and before they stopped shutting off persons, many of our people that were calling the hotline were calling because they had these very high arrearage
My Lord.
and could not afford it. And they were threatened and very fearful that their water was going to be cut off. So this is a godsend in a sense that if they can remove that high arrearage, it puts them in at least a safe place at this point in time to begin to have a fresh start.
And let's be clear. This plan, Lifeline, was offered because of pressure from people like you, Cecily McClellan, and Monica Lewis Patrick, and others who have, Norrell Hemphill, who have testified, have gone to the Water Department, Water Commission, and put on the record the suffering of our people, the absolute hazards of having no water. Water is a human right. You cannot survive without water. If I had my way, people would pay nothing for water. You don't pay to breathe. Water was already here when man got here. In the Bible, the first part of Genesis, in the beginning, the Spirit of the Lord hovered over the face of the waters. And then the Lord said, let there be light. So water was already here. And it's a human right.
It's absolutely a human right. And it's a health concern as well.
Yes, it is.
And, you know, in all my life and living in the city of Detroit, the one bill that you were less concerned about, that you didn't have to worry about, it was your water bill.
That's right. It used to come every 3 months.
That's right.
And used to be about $3.
It was so cheap, nobody, I don't care
My
what your
father
income.
never fussed about the water bill.
No, didn't worry about the water bill until you had the water becoming a commodity.
That's right.
And now they're saying, okay, we can sell this water,
My.
and we can make resources off this water. And because Detroit is the epicenter of water for 40% of the people in the state of Michigan.
Come on now.
Then, you know, we become a target.
That's right.
And it's been a target, I know you know, Councilwoman, for a long time. Whenever there was a rate increase, Detroit had to fight against all of
That's
the
right.
Oakland, Macomb, and,
That's right.
and Wayne County about a rate increase.
That's right.
Over water that we were pumping out to them.
That's right.
And on the same, once we pumped that water out, then the municipality in many instances would then add a charge onto it.
That's what they do.
That's right.
And for the record, the Flint water crisis only occurred when evil people who were trying to make Detroit's water system look less profitable disconnected Flint from Detroit's water system and made a decision. Well, let the Flint people use the Flint River. Flint River was so contaminated, General Motors stopped
Wouldn't
using
use
it
it.
to
That's
build
right.
their cars.
It was rusting out there.
Come on, so all the people in Flint, including these babies, Lord have mercy, who've been contaminated for life
That's right.
by this toxic Flint River.
And then they did a bait and switch. Remember this Karagandhi water system that Flint was supposed to be going to begin to get their water supply from? That really wasn't
Well,
the issue at all.
that's right.
The fact became they were one of the major customers of the city of Detroit, and they want to create some instability.
That's right.
In the city of Detroit.
That's exactly right. That was the whole point, create instability in the city of Detroit. That's why Flint became a crisis, because they were disconnected and should never have been disconnected from the city of Detroit's water line. Never.
Again, emergency management.
Come on now, emergency manager. Illegal, unconstitutional.
And this is the first time that we've had control of the governor's office, the legislature, the Senate, and the House. Emergency management law needs to be revisited.
It needs to be eliminated.
Right.
And they
to
need
be.
to revoke it as it was repealed by citizens who voted state. And quite frankly, there is a policy in the legislature that once citizens have repealed something statewide, there is no way to bring it back into law as Snyder did. But it takes attorneys to address that and to challenge it. And it was never done.
Oh Lord! Now, Attorney Esquire, we need to look into that. We really need to look into that.
There's been so
Yeah.
much illegality and unconstitutionality. I mean, you could write 10 books on it.
Yes.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
In
good.
every state, they have an emergency management law on the books. In every state. And the point of it is that if there's a natural disaster, that the state can then take action quickly. And I've looked it up. It's like copy paste every state. Only in the state of Michigan have they bastardized that emergency management law in the way that they
Racism,
have.
white supremacy.
Yes, ma'am.
To create an apartheid system so that these black folks will not be in control of all this money. And it started with the Detroit public school system. And they claimed there was an emergency manager need, even though there was a $93 million surplus. There was no fiscal challenge. And there were far more students than there are today. More students were going to college with scholarships. The test scores were increasing. Everything was going up until emergency manager.
But see, can't we see that as part of the long-term plan? If
That's
you
right.
destabilize education, and particularly the youth population, the childbearing population, if you can destabilize that population and get them moving out of the city, then you can begin to take control of the city.
That's
And
right.
I think that was one of the early efforts to say, how are we going to begin to address this major black population in the city of Detroit? It is a sore thumb. The state of Michigan had their issues with it. They knew that we were never going to vote for the Republican Party, and they said, okay, well, we'll begin to destabilize it. And emergency management over DPS was the first way of doing that.
That's right. That's
and
right.
That moved out a major portion of young people,
It
particularly
started,
childbearing.
and they began laying the handiwork in New Detroit board meetings. Mm-hmm. Me and Helen Moore and Paul Taylor saw it coming as we were sitting on the New Detroit board, And when we started raising Cain and jumping on tables and saying, wait a minute, that's not right. That's not right. You can't do that to Detroit Public Schools. Next thing you know, they were sending us all little plaques telling us, thanking us for our service on Newton. They put us off the board. That's what they did. I called Helen Moore. I said, did you get something thanking you for yours? She said, I did.
Yeah.
I called Paul Taylor. He said, they thanked me too, and goodbye.
And see, and they also dismantled the whole parent.
They also had a plan of who they were going to put. They had a plan for who they were going to put in the mayor's office. These were corporate people.
Mm-hmm.
Skillman Foundation. New Detroit.
And then they also wanted to eliminate the parents' voice. So you eliminate the PTAs, you eliminate the LSEOs, the local organization, and then you create your own parent network. That now people have to join this parent network, and these become the voices of the parents of DPS.
You can't displace people. You can't displace the parents and the students. The people, authentic people who make up the grassroots. We are the ones who are in charge. We didn't nominate somebody else to take our place.
No. And again, that goes back to Esquire, what we going to do about this emergency management law. And really, I mean, if that's a reality, we need to kind of revisit that and maybe think about how can we address that, particularly in view of the fact that it's illegal and it should not be on the book.
Yeah, I got the Miller Canfield attorney to admit it at the council table.
I remember that so clearly.
Yeah, got him to admit it at the council
I
table.
think that was on April the
April
4th, 2000.
April 4th.
April 4th.
Dr. King's assassination.
Now,
Sure did.
Wasn't that amazing? I said, now how is it that you're going to have a consent agreement that will take over or nullify the city council, and it happens to be on the date that they killed Martin Luther King, April the 4th? I said, now this is amazing. But yeah, Miller Canfield, Michael, what's his name?
Yeah, I got it in my records.
Oh yeah, but his name was Michael. He was sitting right there, and he sat there and admitted.
Admitted it. I already knew it.
Yeah, I drafted the emergency management law.
Yeah, he said that.
And we sitting here using it against you right now.
Which took away the voting rights. So all of it is linked to violating the Voting Rights Act.
Yeah.
So the very existence of a regional authority over the water department is violation of the Voting Rights Act, because that was put in place by an emergency manager who was put in place to take away the voting rights of the citizens who ought to be protected. And not languished by somebody's decision that you don't have the right to have authority over your own life.
And then the way it was done, I mean, in terms of the bankruptcy, you had them go to court while you have the unions already in court,
Right.
trying to hold up the state law that says pensions should not be diminished or impaired.
That's right.
And before they could even rule on it, the city's lawyers sneak into federal court and get them to approve the bankruptcy. It was just, we know it was
The bankruptcy should never have been filed by Kevin Orr and agreed to by Snyder, Governor Snyder, because the city executive branch nor the legislative branch ever approved it, never even saw it. So how are you going to file a motion for bankruptcy when the city never said yes? It was a setup. It was a conspiracy. It was designed to disrobe the city of Detroit, the citizens, of their right to self-governance.
That's right.
But it was a violation of the Voting Rights Act from its beginning to the end. Still is.
And to dismantle, I mean, one of the number two employer in the city of Detroit was the city.
That's right.
And so, you can dismantle that process and render it privatized. Now you can bring in outsiders, and you can also change the economic situation of many of the people in the city of Detroit. And that was effective.
The city was never bankrupt. A $60 billion water department asset, and that figure came from Judge Fikens, who had a former federal judge who had control over the city water department for 40 years. 40 years.
Right. Until we got Cox, and they
That's
decided
right.
they would have a root cause, and now we're going to decide that maybe you all are all right now.
Yeah.
You're not in violation of EPA no more. Okay.
You know, there's a need for everybody who is water insecure. And usually people who are water insecure, it's not their own fault. It's because there are too many issues challenging them.
Right.
People who have water insecurity often have homelessness insecurity, often have food insecurity, health insecurity, often their children may have education insecurity. They
That's
don't have
right.
enough resources to go to school with what they need. So attendance is a challenge. So we don't want anybody to suffer from having their water shut off. So please call this number and enroll in Lifeline before December 31st. What's that number?
The number is 313-386-9727. You can call that number during business hours and make sure you stay online until you get a live person that can begin to take your application. Just make sure that that water bill is in your name so you don't have any impediment to getting that process started.
They will wipe out your deficit. They'll wipe out your arrears. Isn't that a blessing?
Oh, it's
Yes.
And what a blessing to have at
100%.
Christmas time.
Yes.
Right.
To wipe out any overdue the debt you have on your water
That's
bill.
it. It's beyond it. It's truly the blessing of this program. It's our hope that we will have a continuation, a permanent water affordability program. We, the people of Detroit, that has been our absolute goal and our fight, that water is a human right
Yes.
and that everybody should have access to it. It is necessary to maintain health.
Yes.
And we believe that affordability, permanent program based on income is the total way to go. But in the interim, it's imperative that anyone that's eligible for the Lifeline program that you contact Wayne Metro at www.waynemetro.org if you're online, or you can call 313-386-9727.
Call today. Please don't wait. Please don't wait. This is not something to put off and put on the back burner, because if you have a chance to wipe out your arrears, why not do it today? Why not do that today? And we're so grateful for we the people of Detroit for sponsoring ads to make sure that people get the message over and over again, and that people will get moved. Because I know people don't trust everything, but you can trust this.
Right, absolutely.
You can trust. I know that there's a reason why folks don't trust everything. But you can trust this, and why not wipe out your arrears? Why not wipe out any debt that you owe your water department?
And if you're having some difficulty in getting through, or with any Wayne Metro or with DPS, maybe you can let them know about the ombudsman.
Yes. So, one of the things that we, the people of Detroit, did as working through this process and making sure that it is a good program for Detroiters was to make sure they had some type of recourse if they were having issues with Wayne Metro or DWSD, and that was to enlist the services of the ombudsman. And so we've spoken to the ombudsman, and anybody who, as Mama Cecily said earlier, it's supposed to take a couple weeks for you to be enrolled in the program. So if there's people out there who have applied and given all their paperwork and they haven't been enrolled for months, you've called Wayne Metro, you haven't gotten any solutions. You called DWSD, you haven't got any solutions. The ombudsman is your next course of action. The ombudsman's office is familiar with the process. They're familiar with the expectations,
Yes.
and they are able to stand in your place and go get some type of solution for the residents of Detroit.
He's
so
a
that was
wonderful
a
young man,
huge
Bruce
win.
Simpson.
Yes.
He's the grandson of the Honorable Barbara Rose Collins, a long-time city council member, long-time congresswoman, a former state legislator, and one who loved the city. And her grandson, Bruce Simpson, is a wonderful young man, and he's the ombudsman for the city of Detroit.
Yes.
Just thought you ought to know that.
And we have a large population here in the city of Detroit that's eligible for this program. So, and as I indicated earlier, there are 3 tiers, there are 3 levels.
Yes.
So at the lowest level, if you happen to just be receiving food stamps, you're probably eligible for the
Immediately.
flat $18.
That's
and when
right.
we say a flat rate, we're talking about that's not the
That's
drainage
it.
fee, that's not the water plus the sewage fee. It's a flat $18.
$18.
That's flat.
Wow.
And then your arrearage is removed. If your income is a little bit higher, but still considered low income, up to 150% of poverty, then you'll pay $43 a month. A
Yeah.
flat 43, that's all it is, and your arrearage will be removed. And if you're up to 200% of poverty, which is almost as high as $27,000 for one person.
Okay.
And it increases as you increase the number of persons in the household.
Yes.
You would pay $56 a month. And that's a wonderful thing.
It
and
is.
Your arrearage will be removed.
Say that again. Your arrears will be removed.
Your arrearage will be removed.
Come on now.
And your
And so-
water will not be shut off.
That's
And
right.
the water will not be shut off. And the moratorium on no water shutoffs, that ends technically December 31st.
It does. It does end.
So now's the time to act.
Right. But in our conversations with the water department, they have indicated that if you apply, but they have not completed the process, that you will be protected from water shutoff.
Excellent.
So that's another reason, even if you haven't completed the process, but you have contacted Wayne Metro
Yeah.
and made known that you want to apply for the program, they're saying they're putting you on a waiting list.
Yeah.
I call it a holding pattern, but at minimum a wait list.
That's right.
And that you will not be shut off. And so, again, that's a protection against this December 31st deadline.
Excellent, excellent. And that is right around the corner. December 31st is right here.
It is
Yes.
already.
We're going to talk about the Lifeline program and more of how we can move Detroit into safety and out of water insecurity right after we take this break. Wake up, Detroit.
Listen up, Detroit. From now until the end of the year, citizens who are having trouble paying their water bill can sign up for a Lifeline program. Detroit Lifeline will eliminate whatever you owe on your water bill and also set up a new affordable rate. But you must act now. We all need water to live. Yet water shutoff put the health of all Detroiters at risk. To sign up, contact Wayne Metro at 313-386-9727. According to Water Department Director Gary Brown, they will cancel any existing arrears and lower your monthly rate when you enroll. Detroit residents enrolled in the Lifeline plan will not be in jeopardy of water shutoff. The moratorium on water shutoff will end on December 31st. Detroiters in the need of water assistance should enroll in the Lifeline plan by contacting Wayne Metro, paid for by We the People of Detroit. We the People of Detroit is dedicated to community coalition building and to the provision of resources that inform, train, and mobilize the citizens of Detroit and beyond to improve their quality of life. As a community-based grassroots organization, We the People of Detroit aim to inform, educate, and empower Detroit residents on imperative issues surrounding civil rights, land, water, education, and the democratic process. For more information, call 844-42-WATER, 844-42-WATER, or email wethepeopleofdetroit.com.
Wake up, Detroit. I'm Joanne Watson, and this is your wake-up call. Detroit, I'm Joanne Watson. Let's have a round of applause for Cecily McClellan and Orel Humphill. Thank you so much for being a special guest on Wake Up Detroit. And I want both of you to take turns telling people what they need to know on this day about the Lifeline program and also about water being a human right.
Water is a human right, and that is one of the things that We the People of Detroit is still fighting for. And as we support this program's effort in the right direction to provide relief to the residents of the city of Detroit, we also are still fighting for a true water affordability program.
That's right.
You know, just recently, We the People of Detroit and several other organizations backed the economic feasibility study that studied 6 areas in the state of Michigan in terms of the water affordability
Yes.
and whether it was a potential and a possibility.
Yes.
And in that study, we found that if there was just a one-time rate increase of approximately 10%, for at least the majority of the state of Michigan,
Yes.
that it could cover the low-income residents in almost every area in the state of Michigan. And that would be a true positive for all the citizens.
That's right.
Because everyone should want everyone to have
That's right.
water security.
That's right. That's
and to
right.
have the access to clean, safe water. Because we know what that did during the pandemic,
Absolutely.
not having clean, safe water.
That's exactly right. And you may think you're okay, but you're not okay.
No.
Because of the same people who think that their water situation is fine, they're going to be driving up to some local fast food asking for a cup of coffee from somebody whose hands may not have been washed because they have no water on at home.
Absolutely. And we also found that during that shutoff, well, you had upwards of 170,000 folks shut off,
My
that you
Lord.
had whole areas that were shut off.
My
And if
Lord.
you have water not moving in the system, then you leave room for waterborne illnesses
That's right.
to manifest,
That's
like
right.
hepatitis A.
That's
If
right.
you're actually on a block where there's a house shut off, you're 1.5 times more likely, and you have running water in your house, you are 1.5 more times more likely to contract a waterborne illness.
My
And that
Lord.
was a study done by Henry Ford.
Absolutely.
Henry Ford Health System, excuse
That's
me.
right. That's exactly
right.
right.
And the city got to squash them. They got a little quiet after a while once they identified that problem. And it was identified through the emergency room.
That's
People
right.
coming in, and then once they found out, is this thing in a certain area geographically? And once they found out is that many of these people are in high areas of shutoffs.
Right.
And so now they have many more waterborne illness.
My
And
Lord.
that's why our posture has been, we need affordability program
That's right.
that's permanent, that can be funded. We
And
believe
water assistance and water affordability are not the same thing.
they're
No, ma'am.
definitely
No.
not the
No,
same thing.
I fought for my years on city council, and I really have to give credit to the Honorable Mary Ann Mahaffey, who was working on this issue before I even got to council. I was sent, prior to my election to the city council, I was working for Congressman John Conyers. I was his point person on reparations, which is my favorite issue. Reparations and driving while black, and I was working on issues to support women who are suffering from domestic violence and other things, racism. But the congressman assigned me to go to a meeting because he'd been invited by the Honorable Mary Ann Mahaffey to come to her office in City Hall to talk about what we can do to have affordable water rates in Detroit. She said it's disgraceful that the citizens can't afford to pay their water bills.
Right.
And she had key people, she had welfare rights at the meeting. She had key activists at the meeting and social justice organizations. And I was representing Congressman Conyers. So months later, when I unexpectedly became a member of the city council after the death of the late Brenda Scott, I was absolutely on board with fighting for water justice. And Mary Ann Mahaffey was actually meeting on the second floor of City Hall, not on the 13th floor where City Council meets, because she said she couldn't find any other City Council members to support her. I said, I'm not going to the second, we're going to meet on the 13th floor. And we're going to have, because we don't have to wait for other council members to support us, we're going to invite the community in.
That's right.
So I
Task force.
started inviting the public in to our hearings on water, affordable water, and special national guests, and we were able to organize and catalyze support. And it took some years to pass legislation, but we passed it. And one of the great things was when Cecily was employed to help bring it home, make it happen, make it real, actualize water affordability, and she did it beautifully.
And if we had continued along that vein and not terminated in 2012,
That's right.
again because of the fictitious bankruptcy, we might
have
at this point in time in our history be at a true water affordability program.
That's true.
Because what Mary Ann Mahaffey started at that time and what you truly pushed in 2007 and made it a reality for the citizens was really earth breaking. Earth shaking at that time. Had at this point become a program that could have been income based throughout the city of Detroit.
That's right.
And
It should have been.
It really should have been, and it was being funded as you identified that pot of fund. And I don't think that Mercado expected you to
Victor Mercado, who then was the water department
expected
director.
you to do that.
It was as if the Holy Spirit took it out of him. He was tough. We were badgering him before a hearing and trying to make him see the light and make affordable water rates the reality for our people. And we just kept, there's got to be some money. There's got to be some money. And all of a sudden he came up with, well, there is a pocket of money off the budget. I started pricking up my ears. That's because we put all the money, the delinquencies and the late
Penalties,
fees,
yeah.
penalties, We put them in a special fund off the budget. I said, that's it, $5 million? That's it.
DWSD doesn't want to talk about that anymore.
Right.
Mama Cecily
He
brought it
didn't
up
mean
at
to
a
talk
meeting.
about it that day.
Mm.
I'm convinced to this day that the Holy Spirit brought it up out of him. Victor Mercado, he didn't mean to tell us about the $5 million that he had off budget. So I believe they've kept that money off budget ever since.
And do you know how long that was accumulated? Because Gary Brown, when I brought that up, tried to say that, oh, that was over a long period of time.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't 1 year. That was 1 year.
See? And so he
We
tried
got all
to,
that out of Victor Mercado in that hearing.
Right.
Because you could tell he didn't mean to say it, but he said it. And once he said it, it became the record.
It became the source of funding for
That's
the
exactly
Detroit
right.
Residential Water Assistance Program.
That's right. So they can no longer say, we don't have the resources to take care of the people who can't afford to pay their water bill. First of all, they're being overcharged. Secondly, you have money.
Yeah.
Thirdly, the people that are in the program probably paid those penalties and late fees.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say one thing about the economic feasibility study that you brought up, if that's okay.
Yes,
Go ahead.
please.
I know you mentioned that there's a one-time increase of rates, and I know a lot of people hear that, and they're like, what? They're going to increase rates. But I think it's important to slow that point down and mention that they're going to increase rates. Like DWSD has stated in articles that rates will increase at least 3% every year. At least 3% every year. And this economic feasibility study has proven that a one-time increase can stabilize that so they don't have to continue to go up
Every year.
Every year.
Excellent. You said that very well. And having it one time increase is much better than the multiple incremental increase,
Yes, ma'am.
which weighs down and becomes a burden on citizens who are low income, on citizens who are already vulnerable.
Yes, ma'am.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
We want to have final words from Cecily McClellan and final words from Sister Norrell.
Well, we the people of Detroit are supporting enrollment into the Detroit Lifeline program. We believe it's a one-time program to take advantage of, particularly as we think of the arrearage. We encourage everyone to make sure, first thing, that the water bill is in your name, because we do have cases where individuals don't have the water bill in their name, but they're paying this water bill. So you need to make sure that that water bill is in your name and that you contact Wayne Metro. And that number is 313-386-9727. And also, if you are used to going on the computer or on the web, you can also contact Wayne Metro through www.waynemetro.org. It is a one-time shot for you to have your arrearage removed. And it does not appear to be any limitation on the amount of the arrearage. So for those people that have been accumulating arrearage since the pandemic and the water shut off in 2020, we strongly encourage you to take advantage of this program right now.
Excellent. Sister Norrell?
Yes. What I keep hearing in my head is, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. This is a good program. It is not a perfect program. It is not an affordability program. It is an assistance program. But what it will do is get us in a good place right now. It'll wipe out those back arrearages that could be thousands of dollars, $1,000. It doesn't matter what it is. Get rid of that debt, and your water won't be shut off while you're in the program. Is there more that needs to be done? 100%. And we're doing that in real time. And I do challenge everyone to use the full power of their voice at these DWSD meetings, because it's not just performative. We have shifted the narrative by going to these meetings and showing up in person. They thought they were just going to push this through. We forced them to pay attention to us.
Go ahead.
That's right.
We literally forced them to, because we went on record every month at those meetings, at those customer service meetings, whatever meeting we could go to, we went and stood in front of them and told them, no, you will not do this to the residents of Detroit.
That's right.
We demand this moment, and we took it with the full power of our voices. So I challenge everyone to do that. And again, don't let good be the enemy. Don't let good be the enemy of perfect. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Whichever way makes best sense to you, take advantage of this program right now.
Thank you. Outstanding. Outstanding. I believe you've saved some lives today. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Merry Christmas to our audience. Merry Christmas. We love you. Thank you for being a special supporter. Wake up, Detroit. We give God all the praise. Only God is worthy to be praised. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen. And wake up, Detroit.